at each other. So
that's what I'm saying. Go back through their relationship. Even when they were meeting as children, she didn't stand up for Petunia then.
Only once. She did yell at Snape and tell him he was a bully and ran after Petunia. Toonie! But but that lie just always makes me laugh. Toonie!
I mean, they have nicknames. What does that say, you know?
It's the worst.
Yeah, but sisters do that. And who can you be most, and here's the thing. As a sister, I can tell you, in the back of your mind, this is a person who, come hell or high water, no matter what you say or do, is going to love you, is going to forgive you. But that also means, in many cases, you treat them like abject crap.
Yeah.
And I can see these two, especially as teenagers, there's no way they were nice to each other. Fast forward, she's being forced to take that woman's child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She has
before they were able to mend anything.
Yeah.
Because if Lily had lived, then they would have grown up. They would have at some point said, like, okay,
different.
This is but
they didn't get to grow up. They didn't get to mature.
Yeah.
And I know Petunia is the protagonist because of the way the story's written, or antagonist, whatever. I think in many cases, you can edit that. But I think in many cases, people don't think about the fact that she was abused. She was treated very poorly by what she saw as, think about how teenagers and the in crowd. Well, could your sister be more in the in crowd than magical?
Right.
And your parents
are
like,
villain by any means.
Went to school.
She's not a villain. Go ahead.
I don't see her as a villain at all.
She's not a villain by any means. She went through some shit, and then as an adult is taking it out on this kid who also went through some shit.
I think she was wrong to take it out on Harry. Don't get me wrong. I do. Well, she was an adult. He was a baby. But I understand why she could have done it.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think, fast forward, Harry's an R and he's, 30 years old, that there was a time when they could at least talk civilly because she would have gotten past her pain and he would have started to, with the love of Lily and with the love of Ginny and the whole Weasley family and having a true family of his own.
Yeah. Well,
understand through the fights of his sons, how the fights of his mother and aunt could have come about. Yeah. So I think their relationship could have evolved. I'd like to think it could have evolved.
But it's confirmed that he and Dudley stayed in touch, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And where did that come from? Dudley all of a sudden is like, I don't think you're a waste of space.
Well, but it's not all of a sudden.
It's not, you're right. It's not all of a sudden. But where did that seed come from? Because his parents didn't give it to him.
I assume he went away to school to fancy boarding school.
Right.
And got to see that his bullying ways didn't get him anywhere.
Well, I think
he matured.
He had been bullying at the fancy school for a while. I think it was more Harry saved his life. He didn't have to. They were in the middle of a fight. Dudley has treated him like crap. Harry could have just as easily walked away and not stopped for Dudley and not saved Dudley. And I think even though he was in shock while their parents were asking him about it, and then soon after that, Harry was whisked away back to the magical world, we didn't see Dudley trying to come to terms with what had just happened at all. But he had a whole year of, Harry just saved my life. What am I doing? What is happening? To come to terms with it at a time when he was 17 years old, because Dudley's a year older. So he is starting to mature and just had a literal enemy save his life. I think that year, Dudley did some serious soul searching about his relationship with Harry.
That would be an interesting spinoff.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah, right?
Dudley and the year that he was in.
Well, then you know what? To go back to the Harry Petunia thing coming off of Dudley, I wonder if, let's say what TC is saying holds a lot of water, then during that year, I wonder how that might have also softened Petunia.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because
absolutely.
Her son's life was saved by this boy she's treated like worse than a criminal all of his life.
Yeah.
And then the next year they see him, he's saving all of their lives.
And here's where Petunia loses me, which I had in my notes here, most of the stuff we've covered, but this one I wanted to kind of get into a bit. The final goodbye between Harry and Petunia. Because I do think, yes.
Oh, before you go here, this is a perfect time to tell the audience, we are very much talking about the books, not the movies.
Mm.
So many of the references that we're using are not the references as you see them portrayed in the films.
Yes.
This is based on what J.K. originally wrote. So go ahead and say what you're about to say, because if we put the movie on it, it's a whole new spin.
That's very true. But no, in that final goodbye, she has an opportunity to say something, to stand up, to moviefy that scene, and she does nothing. Like, that was her moment to say, at least, even a thank you for saving Dudley. She didn't. She's like, oh, my Duddykins. Like, you're so brave. You're so good for complimenting that horrible boy. Like, even she can't make herself get over herself. And I think that's...
But see... that's where I put the normal person standard on it. I look at my grandmother. My grandmother was not a nice woman. My grandmother was not nice to many of her children. And even on their deathbeds and eventually on hers, she couldn't make herself change. I think what was going on in her brain and what was coming out of her mouth were often very different things, because you get into a habit of, it's like when that high school kid comes in the room that you don't like and you just get your back up.
Right.
Even if they've never done anything to you. I think that's where Petunia was. At that point, it had been almost...
Can we have a quick tangent? Have you ever met someone that looks like someone that was a dick in high school, and you're like, oh, I don't like that person, even though you don't even know their name?
Oh yeah. I worked with one.
No, so you have the same mouth as this person. So you're an ass.
You know what? And but I don't think that's a side note. I think that's valid. Because Harry looked like the man who took her sister and entrenched her in that role even further by marrying her. And as far as Petunia, though, could have gotten her killed, because Petunia doesn't know all the details.
Right.
But can we also mention that Lily and James were probably quite attractive? And Petunia is like horsey, and Vernon is like, that had to play.
Oh, I'm sure. The jealousy issues had to be huge.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Like, my perfect sister with her wavy hair that always looks great is marrying this, whatever.
But you know what? And think about it, though. Harry has her sister's eyes, as we all know. And still...
But they're green, not
saying goodbye. They're green, damn it. As she is saying goodbye to this boy that she has treated like abject crap for his entire life, for things that had nothing whatsoever to do with him, she looked into her sister's eyes, and I think that's why she didn't say anything. I
agree.
He may have softened the idea of him while Dudley was gone, and while Harry was gone, and while she's thinking of Dudley and how and let's say they got that all sorted out and she recognized, yes, he really did save him, but she looked into her sister's eyes and her heart hardened, and she couldn't make herself do it. And I think I understand Petunia. I still think that she is horrible for punishing the wrong person.
Oh, and don't get me wrong. I 100% agree. She's not a good person. But I don't think she is the evil incarnate that people like to make her out to be.
I mean, she's no Marietta Headcomb. Come on.
Right.
I can't wait till we talk about Marietta.
But yeah, she's a horrible human, but she has reasons behind her horribleness that as humans we should understand. Now, does that make it right? No. Does that make Harry's upbringing any better? Hell no. But I don't hate her.
A cupboard is still a cupboard.
A cupboard is a cupboard is a cupboard, but but I don't hate her the way I think a lot of people do, because, and this is where one of those big differences of reading this book as an adult and reading this book as a kid.
Yeah.
Even when I read it, I was an adult. So I was seeing both sides, and even back then going, how horrible must her life have been to take it out on a child?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So. And to have it in such a sharp contrast, because she has two children that she's raising that are almost the exact same age, and it's a switch when you first meet her in the first book.
Yeah.
It's like this intense switch that goes off and on.
Like in
Dudley
her brain,
and Harry.
it doesn't matter if Harry
crazy.
gets one ice cube, Dudley's got to get 3,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the only way her life makes sense.
But
So
you know,
I hated her, but in a feel bad for her kind of way.
I just had a realization. This is the craziest thing that just popped in my head. And it's a moment where Petunia actually showed some caring for Harry, which almost never happened. But this was a moment that always struck me as odd, because in that moment she seemed to care. When Dumbledore says that this is the last time Harry will be with them as he's turning 17, or he'll come of age, and then he will be leaving your home forever. Her first reaction isn't, oh, thank God it's almost over. Her first reaction is, no, he's not ready. He's not coming of age yet. He's 17 and Dudley's 18, and then he's not going to be ready. And then Dumbledore re-explains that they come of age at 17, where Vernon's like, that's preposterous and crazy. But in that moment, I think was
that's
the
interesting.
moment
Yeah.
we saw Petunia show concern for Harry's welfare. Like,
He's not of age yet.
He's not of age yet. He's not ready. And
Yeah.
that reaction I thought was really, really...
Rather than jumping on, hell yeah, get him out of here.
Right. Yeah. I think that was the only moment in the books where I went,
that's a good point.
okay, so does she, what? And it's so funny because it's like, she goes right back to that suppressive, like, I have to protect myself. I can't love this child. He's horrible.
Right.
But there is a glimpse. And I think that's what makes what I'm saying valid, in the terms of there is a moment where even the JK wrote in where you can see things from her eyes a little more, which I thought was interesting.
Oh,
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. You have any points or thoughts?
So that loving, we covered all of mine. I seriously, so I just kind of hopped in.
Well, you know what?
But to go back to Sam's point, let's do a fake world where Petunia does go to therapy.
Okay.
Okay. So let's say every Saturday at 3, while Vernon's out playing golf, she goes and sees her squib therapist.
Sure.
And talks through losing her sister. And like, when do you think, if let's say she didn't start going until she already had Harry,
Mm-hmm.
because that's when she was pushed over the edge,
Right.
her sister's death and getting Harry. When do you see her having actual change start to make Harry's life better, if that was the case?
I think after Dudley gets attacked. I think.
So you think she could have gone to therapy
Harry,
for 12 years
I
with
think
no change?
that. Okay. Yeah.
Well,
When you put it like that.
Because that's a big point.
Where?
When would the therapy have started? Because I think that makes a big difference in the answer to
So you're talking about like right after.
I'm saying let's put the therapy in like a month after she gets Harry the baby.
Okay.
How would his life have been different? How would their relationship have been different? And when do you think that difference would have started? Knowing that she still has to deal with Dudley, she still has the threat of magic over her, and she still has Vernon to deal with.
So I keep thinking of that scene in Fred Claus when it's all the siblings. Do you guys remember that scene? It's all the siblings of celebrities, and they have like Alex Baldwin.
Oh yeah,
I love that scene.
Brother, and he's just sitting there like, that's not Alec. That's not Alec. I just keep seeing this vision of Petunia and the therapist just being like, that's not Lily. That's not Lily. And like her working through this. I think if she had started going a month after receiving baby Harry, I feel like it would have been, I think it would have been a lot better when we start. I have difficulty thinking of it prior to the book starting. So I think when we meet them, there would have been maybe not a relationship, but she would have treated him decently. He would have had a bedroom.
Mm-hmm. He wouldn't have been,
which is such a low bar. It's such a low bar. She would have been like every day and a bedroom.
It wouldn't be a question if he could go to the zoo.
Right. Like, he'd be going to the zoo. Like they would be. It would be much closer to cousins being raised together. I think that's fascinating to think. And I think there still would have been difficulties. And when he got his letter, she definitely would have had some issues and had to schedule an appointment. But I don't know. But that's also, that's colored by my own experience. Like, I'm very pro therapy.
Here's why I'm asking this. And that's why I asked this question.